hopefully by some miracle we've gone live. We're back.
We're back.
Our microphones are working. Our headsets are working.
Kind of.
Kind of.
For now.
It's good to be back. We're just going to play it by ear. We're going to wing it. And have a good time.
So, now it's new then, no?
That's our fantasy style, isn't it? Fantasy front office style.
Leon's been patiently waiting for us. Thanks, Leon.
Yeah, a few tech problems, and I'll put my hand up and say that's me as a tech biff. I'm on the wind-up headset, so it might not last the full duration.
Let me just check his phone. Just make sure we are live. We're talking about ourselves. Yes, we look live. We look live, lads. We're in. It's working.
Super duper.
Amateur hours over.
Right, we've got our chat there. Right, we've got my screens ready. What are you drinking, Baz?
San Miguel.
San Miguel. Star of Praman for
Yourself. Blandy. H2O.
H2O.
I could have guessed it. He's an athlete now, aren't you?
Did have a Starbucks beforehand.
Right, so where are we going to start? Free agency.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
Do it. This is the right one. So this is the beautiful PDF Mr. Bland made prior.
With full graphics and everything.
Full graphics, yeah, I appreciate that.
Full graphics.
Is that's not the tech budget blown on the animation, is it?
Yeah, that's it. Pissed it all up the wall, Barry.
I'd like to see it.
Loading the special font. First thing first, AJ Green's finally retired.
No, he's got another season in him, surely.
It would appear that.
What were the Packers trying to sign him at the end of last season?
I think they were going to trade for him, weren't they? Well, there was talk of trading for him. But,
Trade for someone who's going to retire in 2 months. That's a good move.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're getting rid of Rodgers, who's been trying to retire for the last couple of years.
So what's the big hitters then, Mr. Bland? Which ones do we care about? There'll be plenty of folk who, and we do it every season. You kind of come to the season, you think, fucking hell, they've gone somewhere else. And then you kind of like take a couple of weeks to sort of like track down who's gone where. So which ones are the big hitters then?
None really. It was a pretty weak class. No, but
Right, moving on.
And that's the end of the show. We'll see you next week.
No, especially at wide receiver, it was a pretty weak class. We had the trade with DJ Moore going from the Panthers to the Bears in exchange for picks and the overall number one pick in the draft.
He's the best receiver to have moved teams, isn't he?
Yeah, easily. And it's a bit of a strange one because I don't know whether he's actually going from a worse situation to a better situation or vice versa. The Bears should be better. It looks like they want Justin Fields to pass more this year, but the Bears were so run heavy last year that even if they basically halved their pass rate over expectation from last year, they'd still be in the bottom five in the league when it comes to pass attempts. So I fully expect he's going to see probably 30% target share. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think that's going to equate to more targets than what he has been seeing when he's in Carolina.
30% share of a low number. Is that what we think?
Yeah, I think he's going to see a larger share of a smaller pie, basically.
He was very up and down in Carolina, wasn't he? With all the quarterback players, sometimes he sort of was non-existent. Then all of a sudden they were getting beaten, not using the best receiver, so the pressure got on and they threw him in more targets and he came up a bit.
Yeah.
It was just very erratic, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely a bit shit with when Baker was there to start the year.
Horrendous, wasn't it?
Shock.
Yeah. I mean, he ended up with a 27.5% target share last year. So, like I say, I think that'll probably go up to around about the 30% mark. But I just don't know whether the total sum of pass attempts is going to make up for it. You know.
And just to follow on that, then, how much importance do we give to when we look at wide receivers from fantasy? Who's throwing the ball? Do we look for just because they're the number one guy, we'll pick them regardless, or do you want to see a good quarterback throwing it to them?
Well, ideally, you'd want a good quarterback thrown to a good wide receiver, but there's
not many of them. There's not many of them to go around. If you're a 3 or 4 wide receiver league,
they generally don't. Generally doesn't line up perfectly all the time. So I definitely wanted to see, a good wide receiver can definitely raise a poor quarterback. We saw it with how much Josh Allen improved for Stephon Diggs going there. The previous year, before they made the trade for Diggs, they had John Brown. John Brown's grand, but he's not a number one receiver. You bring Diggs in there, and it raises Allen's game. Allen improved obviously as well himself.
Diggs is a proper alpha, isn't he?
Well. Yeah, and it's DJ Moore is as well. So it looks like they're doing the wanting feels to pass more this year, but to be honest, he couldn't pass less.
No. The one that I did like from wide receivers on the move was Elijah Moore to the Browns. I know you're a fan of Elijah Moore, aren't you, Blandy?
Yeah, I like him very much.
So if you've got Amari Cooper, you've got Deshaun Watson trying to get somewhere back to his best, and Elijah Moore as a wide receiver too, is that a good little situation? Do you think?
I don't know whether Elijah Moore will be the wide receiver too. That's the problem. I think, especially in 2 wide receiver sets, it's going to be Cooper on one side and Donovan Peoples-Jones on the other. So and it's going to be Elijah Moore's going to play in the slot basically.
Yeah.
So how much? Then it all comes down to then how much they're going to run 3 and 4 wide sets. Now, Matthew Berry put his combine column out a few weeks back, and in that he mentioned basically what we've seen previously from the Browns the last few seasons. Their offense is going to be the polar opposite of that. The last few years, their offense has gone through Nick Chubb basically. Yeah, they want to de-emphasize Chubb, and they want to become a very pass happy team this year. They're on about running 3 and 4 wide. An awful lot. So if that is the case, then Elijah Moore is set up for success in that offense. But it's one thing, plan to do that. It's another thing actually, doing it in reality.
It does feel it all hinges on how good Deshaun Watson can get back to, doesn't it? Because if he can get back to close to his best, he was one of the best around. And if he gets there and they can, line 2, 3, 4 receivers up and Njoku and tight end, that's also going to create loads of space for Chubb. He won't be running stack boxes, will he? So it feels like there's a lot of potential there at the Browns if Deshaun Watson can get his game back.
Yeah, it probably only needs to get to 90% of where he was for this offense to be pretty decent. From what it has been.
That's what I'm keeping an eye on. I'm intrigued with how that goes. The Brown. I liked Deshaun Watson before. Obviously, everything came out. He didn't play, but I think that's really intriguing the Browns. I think, like I said, there's lots of excitement for lots of players there. If he gets it going. Just
speaking with Chubb, also the Browns let D'Ernest Johnson leave, and they haven't re-signed Kareem Hunt, and these are no offers that we know of as of yet in the free agency. If that stays the same and it's just Nick Chubb and Jerome Ford, the rookie from last year, in the backfield, and the Browns do go pass heavy like they want to, it'll actually, for what Chubb's going to lose on the ground, from his his lack of or less carries. I think he could more than make up for that actually in the passing game. He has had a season where I think he had the best part of 50 targets. I think it was one year. And he put the ball in his hands, and he's an efficient receiver as well. He's not McCaffrey, but you can give him a screen, and he'll make the most of it. So I'm slightly optimistic on Chubb's receiving role this year.
Do you have any concerns about the play calling at the Browns like Mr. Hope does? If you can see the comments, lads. Can you see the comments on the screen?
Yeah, I can see the comment popped. I was waiting for you to chip that one in.
Thanks for joining, OP. Appreciate it, mate.
Yeah, well,
nice personally, I think Stefanski is excellent. I think he's an excellent play caller, and I think he showed when he was there in Minnesota as well. He can be diverse. We've seen the Browns go run heavy. We've seen Minnesota go run heavy, but we've also seen Minnesota go really pass heavy as well.
It's probably quite hard to judge the coach specifically on his coaching with everything else that's going on in Cleveland for the last few years with Deshaun Watson, with everything else. It's always a bit of a roller coaster there. So maybe there might be some stability now. We might see what they've got to offer. It's kind of it's on the line now, isn't it? There's no more excuses.
Yeah.
I was gonna mention it with our sort of like my redraft head on. So is it too early at the minute to say so the DJ Moore I wanted to touch on? Is it too early to say what sort of round he's going to be forecasting that due to this?
Well, that's a strange one. So prior to the trade, he was going 5th, 6th round on Underdog, half PPR, best ball, and then after the trade, he fell up to about the 3rd, 4th round turn.
Where he normally used to go, didn't he? Really?
Yeah, and like I say, I've got concerns about the overall pass volume. He's not when projections start coming out and start driving rankings and things. He's not going to project well. So I think at the minute he's possibly been a bit overdrafted, where he's actually going back where he was going originally prior to the trade. It's 6th round, that range. Yeah, perfect. They're allowed taking there all day. But 3rd, 4th round, I think is a bit rich for a Bears pass catcher.
I agree. I wouldn't be taking that high.
No.
And then same question for Elijah, I guess.
He hasn't moved from where he was pre-trade to post-trade. His ADP is, I think, he moved one spot. So
which is strange because you would think, what tells you he wasn't really wanted or used too often at the Jets, so he doesn't have a lot of worth. Whereas if he's going to a team that's made a move for him and paying him some level, then you would think that they want him and are going to use him. So therefore, he's got to be getting used more. So therefore, he should be more fantasy relevant, and his play should go up a little bit. But I think it's still shrouded by that big question mark, like I say, Blaney. So I don't think he's a given. Let's go and get him. But I think we like the talent there, don't we?
Yeah, I just think he's around about the 10th round where he's going, and I just think prior to the trade when he was still on the Jets, I just think he's been overdrafted in that spot, and he's probably now in the right spot after the trade, but he hasn't actually moved in ADP.
One I wanted to touch on, my main man, Hayden Hurst, gone to the Panthers.
Yeah.
Why did the Bengals let him go?
He just replacement level, wasn't he?
You can't replace that beard in the locker room, Andy.
I think he's got a good hurdle on him as well, hasn't he?
Yeah. I thought he had a good season.
He was okay, wasn't he? He wasn't great. He just
maybe some of these teams have got an eye on who they're going to pick up in the draft, haven't they? So, like we're saying about maybe Cleveland Browns and maybe short and running backs, they might be looking to draft one. Cincinnati might have their eye on somebody, particular tight end. We'll come on to it, but there's some good tight ends coming out this year. They might think, well, I'll get one of those and save a bit of cap.
Yeah. like he was pretty inefficient last year, Hayden Hurst, with his with the targets that he did get. You know, he wasn't great, and he was on a good offense where, you know, he was never someone who was going to be the main focus of the defense, was he? So
Yeah.
you know, he was towards the bottom of the league in yards per route run at the tight end position. So
And replaced him with Big Herb.
they have replaced him with Big Irv, and that's a good landing spot for Irv Smith if he can get out of his own way and not constantly be injured.
I say stay fit and help.
Yeah, but this, it wouldn't surprise me if this was a landing spot for someone like Michael Mayer in the draft, the Bengals.
I think what maybe just last one to touch on before I move on to the actual rookies. The one that I liked a little bit of look of or intrigued by was Darren Waller to the Giants.
Yeah, it's been rumored at least for the last year, that the Raiders were looking to get rid of him.
Purely on how much he cost. Is that the one of the because he has looked very good in spells, hasn't he?
He has, but he's another one who's in the last 2 seasons he's basically missed a season's worth of games.
Yes, yeah, very injury prone.
Yeah, so he's had his injury issues, and he was a holdover from the Gruden regime, not the new Josh McDaniels regime. So
no, I think I had him in a fantasy league probably when we were all in. When Gruden was the coach, and he just used to absolutely force feed it into Waller all the time. It was absolutely brilliant from a fantasy perspective. He was getting 20 targets a game,
and he was very good with the ball in his hands. The one thing with Waller, he's never really been a touchdown scorer. Go to the Giants, he's probably going to be the number 1 pass catcher, I would say. So I would say at the moment, as it stands, you know, unless they draft someone, he's probably going to be the number 1 target next year for that team. But one thing we know is that Waller doesn't score touchdowns really, and Daniel Jones doesn't throw touchdowns.
Not a good combination.
No, so from a fantasy point of view, I think he's going to be someone who's going to have a pretty safe floor, low floor, unlikely to get the big boom weeks, and he's probably just going to fill in as a back end tight end 1. He's not going to be the tight end 3-4 where you would associate him, where he has been previously when he was with the Raiders in his prime. You know, for all he's only kind of been fantasy relevant for a few years, he has been in the league quite a while. So he's knocking on. I think he's 20. I think he's 29 now. So he's no spring chicken.
That'll be the problem. Like I say, I would like to take a punt on him at low round, later rounds. Yeah. But I think people will buy him based on his form from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it's been when he was fully fit. And you probably won't get him on the cheap, I would like to have a little cheap punt at him because I think he could do well at the Giants.
Yeah, the leagues that I'm drafted in at the moment, he tends to go in around about the 5th, 6th round, which for me is too rich.
We'll have to touch on the Niners because Whoopi's on. Sam Darnold in.
Well, I mean, it's definitely a QB upgrade, isn't it? You know, Sam Darnold and Jimmy Garoppolo out. I mean, no one's gonna argue with me there, are they?
The thing is, the 49ers need about 6 QBs, don't they, to make the season out? So yeah, get him in.
Yeah, just healthy bodies.
No Niners talk.
This is not the podcast for the Sam Darnold, Brock Purdy, Trey Lance debate. Yeah, we'll discuss that further down the line.
We'll get onto that when we know a bit more what's going on, because it's a mystery.
QB triangle.
Who the fuck knows? No, like
no.
You prefer your love triangles on Love Island, don't you?
Yeah. So lads, I'm in a redraft league, tough competition and some dodgy tactics. Any dark horses to look out for?
Right. So one of the more interesting acquisitions in free agency was David Montgomery to the Lions to replace basically to replace Jamal Williams.
Your mate Fat Dave.
Fat Dave, yeah. Now, for all I give Fat Dave a lot of shit,
Hammered Fat Dave all last season, useless. Now all of a sudden, you're telling everyone to buy him.
He's a much better player than Jamal Williams ever was. Unfortunately, I can't say he's going to fall into the end zone from the 2-yard line 17 times like Jamal Williams did last year. But it's pretty clear now that the Lions, for whatever reason, they don't like DeAndre Swift, and they only want to give Swift 7 to 10 touches a game as a change of pace, kind of old Tony Pollard kind of role.
Are they paying Montgomery?
Yeah,
or is he on a moderate contract?
No. As far as running back contracts go, this was one of the better ones handed out. I think it works out roughly about 18 million in guarantees. I think he's got.
Oh, right. So decent whack then,
yeah. Yeah. So he's gone from the Bears, who are a bad team, with a bad O-line, to the Lions, who are the clear favourites to win the NFC North, and they probably have the second or third best O-line in the league. They have a statuesque quarterback in Jared Goff. So his rushing efficiency should improve a lot from what we've seen with the Bears, and also with Goff being immobile, he's going to get more receiving work than what he did when he was with the Bears as well.
Yeah, and again, just to sort of clarify on that, it's not you're not got a running back who's going to snipe some of the runs. Plenty of running backs, quarterbacks do. There's no worry that the quarterback's going to do any designed runs of any description, so it's a bigger pie.
Yeah, I think at the moment Montgomery's going around about the 10th round.
Okay, so that's a nice value there, I think, isn't it?
I think it is. Yeah, I don't want to go chasing him up into the 5th or 6th round. If he starts getting up there, then I'm out. But in the 10th round, if he stays around 8th, 9th, 10th round, as my second running back on the team, I wouldn't mind that at all. I have no problem taking him there.
So there's no change for Swift, then, is it? It's just like for like, same old.
Yeah,
same last season, really.
Yeah, I think so. Unfortunately, because he's, I think we all think he's really, really good. Yeah, we all think he's really, really good,
isn't he? But that's the key for me. Is it if they're paying money to come in, it's just going to be exactly the same again. So you'd add a voice Swift as well, mate.
He's definitely getting overdrafted, isn't he?
Well, Swift's gone in about the 5th round,
Is he?
Yeah.
I think I've seen him higher in some boards and some drafts I've been in. People are still looking, thinking, "Oh, they've lost Jamal Williams, Swift's all them flashes and whatever. I'll take him in like 3rd, 4th and stuff like that." I'm thinking that's just too high, too rich.
Yeah.
One I wanted to just touch on, Rashad Penny to the Eagles.
Mm-hmm. This is a great deal for the Eagles. They're paying him about $1 million. It's veteran minimum. He's got incentives in his deal, obviously, because of all of his injury things. But if they don't, they're rumored to be drafting Bijan. But Howie Roseman, he generally the smartest GM around. I can't see Howie Roseman taking a running back, 10th overall.
They like a bit of the running back by committee there, don't they?
They do, yeah, they do.
And again, behind a good O line, the theory is we'll make the gaps and anyone can get through them, so we don't need to pay someone.
Like Penny when he was fit last year, was going for about 6.5 yards a carry in this playing for the Seahawks. He's sticking behind a mobile quarterback, Jalen Hurts. Mobile quarterbacks generally create more efficiency for the running backs anyway, because it's an extra player that the defense has to take into consideration. And then like you say, that O line, like he could end up running for 7 or 8 yards a clip. So numbers that you kind of see in college. Now everyone's going to say, he's going to he's going to get injured, Grant, but that could well be true. But
I was going to say it's how much time he's going to be in that blue tent, isn't it? That's the
yeah. But he's gone around about the 12th round.
Yeah,
so literally, you could take him, and if he give you 4 or 5 games at the kind of efficiency that you would expect to get from him on that team, he'd repay you back in bundles, eh?
Yeah,
for a 12th round pick, at the minute, it's an absolute no-brainer pick.
He's a fair punt, isn't he? Yeah, I get that.
Oh God, yeah, and like the Eagles are, as an organisation, very smart.
Ready to go on to the rookies?
Let's dive in.
If you've got no more questions. Oh, just one question, one point before we go. Adam Thielen went from the Vikings to the Panthers, and he'd probably be projected as the Panthers' #1 pass catcher unless they draft someone. But I'll just say I will have zero shares of Adam Thielen this year. Like, he got a ridiculous. He got something like a 3-year, $18 million deal as well. I have no idea, Rob. No idea. I think it's just he's a corpse. He had a 1.1 yards per route run last year. I mean, it's just absolutely horrendous.
He's been a good player, hasn't he? He's got
brilliant.
For whatever reason, maybe Father Time's caught up with him, but I think just generally the Panthers, for me personally, you want nothing to do with them whatsoever.
Depends who the draft.
But I mean, if you think the start of last season, they had DJ Moore and CMC, and they were still losing games. Now they've got a shot of both them two, and they've got #1 pick, and they've got, like I say, drafting people like Thielen as #1. They're probably one of these teams who could be in line for a #1 pick next year for me.
No, I think Frank Reich's too good for that. Their defense is very good, by the way.
Yes, they did have a good defense, but they didn't win many games last year, did they?
Well, you can't, because the offense couldn't stay on the field.
But I don't see that dramatically change. Like I say, if Thielen's your #1 receiver, and
I don't think it would. I don't
give a bit away. They've had to give a bit away to get up to #1, so they've lost a couple of picks in this draft as well, haven't they? So
yeah.
I'm not convinced they're going to draft half a dozen good players and be an average team. I think they're going to draft, probably a very good quarterback, maybe another couple of good players, and still be in a rebuild mode for another year or two.
Yeah, I just don't think it won't be the #1 pick.
Mr. Hope, lots of talk about going wide receiver heavy this year as opposed to running back. Thoughts? Well, everyone got burnt last year, didn't they? when they took an early running back, pretty much anyway.
Yeah, a lot of the first rounders failed, didn't they? A lot of flops or injuries or just not living up. Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I still feel you've got to have a balance, haven't you? And I think, I used to always say I like to get 2 running backs in the first 4 rounds. I think now it's maybe only one sort of stud running back, and then, like I say, take a few shots later in the draft and 3 or 4 different running backs and hope one of them hits.
And a lot of these teams are playing with committees as well. They just can't.
There's not many bell cows now, is there, Blandy? I don't think there's not a huge amount of 3 down backs.
No, you got Taylor, Barkley,
Big Derek,
Bijan when he gets drafted, Henry. That's probably about it. That's your lot.
So maybe
we're going wide receiver heavy there.
So yeah, probably because you're not getting the pay. You're not getting the payback from your running back, so they're not getting, 25 carries game after game after game. So there's the value of drafting them in rounds 1, 2, 3, 4, or using 2 of your picks on 2 of them. You're not getting the payback.
No, you take your anchor, and then forget about it until the 8th, 9th, 10th round.
Until you get Fat Dave 10.
Yeah, like you'd be delighted. You start something like you start take Taylor or CMC, in the back end of the first round or whatever.
I think we're also looking at pass catching backs more now, aren't we? As well.
Yeah. But and then you take a Montgomery, in the 10th round or something like that. You fill the rest of your roster out pretty strong, and then you just start taking punts.
I'd love to be in a league with you, Blandy, where you take Montgomery and he absolutely flops. I'd love that. It'd be a great season on the pod if that happens.
Right, on the rookies. Are we starting with a quarterbacks? Are we going to segment it, or are we just going to...
Whichever way you want.
I think so. I mean, again, if anyone's done any time listening to anything about this draft, it's just massively focused on the quarterbacks, isn't it? I know they always are, but I think this one particularly, there's lots of quarterback chat. Everything is quarterback focused, isn't it? With the top 2 picks definitively going to be quarterbacks, and then potentially there could be 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks in the top 10, 20. It turns into a little bit of a lottery after that. So it is the place to start, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but from a fantasy point of view, there's not a great deal to be excited about, though.
That's my question. That's my question, Bandy. So, of the quarterbacks that are getting drafted, I mean, Dynasty is one thing, and then obviously the redraft. I'm presuming redraft, the quarterback situation probably doesn't really matter that much.
No, especially in one quarterback leagues in redraft. You're not taking any of these.
No,
if you want to do redraft, you can go and do the dishes or something for your missus and then come back.
Put the kettle on.
We'll still be talking about them in about half an hour. But if you play Dynasty, then obviously, and especially if you're in a 2 QB league or whatever daft stuff they do now. Which one are you favouring?
Right. So for me, both Bryce Young and CJ Stroud project as low end QB1s, high end QB2s, pretty safe floor, but not the highest of ceilings when it comes to fantasy. But excuse me, Anthony Richardson might not have any flaw, but he's got by far and away the highest ceiling of any of these players. Basically, just because of his rushing and his athleticism. His throwing, his passing leaves a lot to be desired. Where CJ Stroud is a ridiculously good passer, very accurate, can make just about every single throw. Doesn't have a massive arm, but has a big enough arm to where there's no concerns on that side of it.
But with the same 40-yard dash as you there, Bandy. Look, 4.44.
Something like that.
Is that minutes?
Yeah. But what Stroud and Young don't have, or what we've not seen from them, they don't have a great rushing floor. Up until the college final against Georgia, we saw pretty much nothing from CJ Stroud as a runner. But when the Georgia front was able to get him outside the pocket, he did show good mobility, actually.
Well, there's Cam. Look at Cam there. Look.
So, like Richardson has by far the highest ceiling, but he might not have any flaw whatsoever.
I think I think that's the chat we've had before, Bland, isn't it? You know, a lot of people are just oozing over his physique, and he's fast and he's strong and he's massive and he can do it. But if he can't throw the ball, and he can't make, if he's 3 and out, he ain't gonna be on the field.
Yeah.
So I think that the high ceiling is still somewhat. I don't know if you can base that purely on physical attributes. He's still got to have a better skill set.
Yeah.
Now he has got some good skill sets for what the bits I've seen. He is quite elusive for all his sort of technical flaws. He does sort of feel pressure quite well, and he's not doing what Fields is doing in the NFL and just not really looking to pass and run. He's trying to pass but just not making his passes.
Yeah.
Whereas I think someone like the likes of Young and Stroud, they're playmakers, and I would think they've got a very good chance of being successful NFL quarterbacks for 10 years. Whereas Richardson, they say he's got a high percent chance of busting, and this high ceiling thing is, could he be another Patrick Mahomes? He basing it just on his physicality. I think I like seeing on tape people making plays, winning games, having game management experience. That, for me, I'm not sure I want to touch Anthony Richardson, but he could be massively wrong because he could just turn out to be awesome.
Well, like the upside case, I mean, it's dead easy. The upside case is Cam Newton, isn't it? The downside case is Tim Tebow. So
I think again, when I'm just trying to look into it a bit more, and you might appreciate this bit, Anth, as well. The number of games he's played. Richardson's played 12 games in college, and he's won 6 and lost 6.
Yeah,
that is extremely novice. I know he's not going to start day one. He's not going to start day one for anyone, but that's extremely novice. If you look at Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, they played a lot more games. They've won a lot more games. Okay, the criticism with those type of players is you're playing for the best teams, the Alabamas. You win the game, you can put anyone there. However, with CJ Stroud, his best performance was in his toughest game, and I think that's a really big plus.
Yeah, I like Stroud. He's always been the QB1 in this class.
I would take an accurate passer over a physical specimen every day.
Was it Stroud who broke all the records at the combine?
No, that was Richardson.
No, Richardson. Yeah.
Richardson is that, like I say, that Cam Newton sort of type of player where you think, wow, can he just bully? He's bullying people when he runs in college. Yeah. Can he transfer that to the NFL and do that? And you probably can't stop him if he's that big and that fast. If he's, if you can do the play action or the run pass option or whatever, and you can see that path that is quite unstoppable. Things that Fields has been doing recently, where he can just burn off 60, 70-yard runs. You could see Richardson doing that, but I think you've still got to be able to game manage and make accurate throws at certain times to be on the field enough to be able to keep your job long enough to make the runs. And that's the question.
That's the knock on Richardson. Like his completion percentage in college is like 47.5%, accuracy rate 57.5%. So he had the lowest. He's got the lowest QB rating in this class. Only 75.9 QB rating. His completion rate over expected is -3.9. That's like comparable with Drew Lock and Ben DiNucci.
Yeah.
So there's an awful lot of projection to go in it. But like you say though, he's only had 12 starts. He's got so much more learning, development to do. And if it does click, then he's quite easily going to be the fantasy QB1 out of this bunch of quarterbacks. Easy.
So,
it's no question about it.
But I think like I say, even we talked a bit about Stroud that we like. Bryce Young as well. Some of his statistics and some of his tape is just really, really good. I think I've seen a stat. So in the 2 years he was playing as a starter, the number of throws that were graded as interceptable, not intercepted, just interceptable throws, was at 2% for 2 years.
Yeah. So he has the second lowest turnover-worthy play rate in this class. So
that's unbelievable statistically, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That decision making of where do I put the ball? Do I throw? Do I hold? very, very good. And I think that's the transferable skill, and I want to see team. If I was in charge of a team, I'd want to transfer into my team. Not, this guy's massive and can run fast.
Yeah, he's above average. Bryce Young in big time throws. So, and like you say, he doesn't turn the ball over. So it's, at worst, he's a good game manager.
And these two guys are going to go
number one.
What's that?
PFF have Bryce Young at number one.
I think I've seen, done a bit of research. A couple of different people have them different ways around. They're going to go 1 and 2. They're going to go to Carolina and Houston. And I think the one who ends up with Houston, I think, has got the better chance of succeeding, because I think they've probably got a little bit more of a better trajectory forward. And again, I'm not particularly big on the Panthers.
Yeah.
Okay. Running backs.
Running backs. I think this is a good class of running backs, isn't it? Blandy, I know we've got a guy to talk about at the very top who's, a phenomenon. The phrase that we hear every year, generational talent. I think generation should mean every 10 years, but we get generational talents every year. But it looks a good running back class. And again, if you've got this theory of, and I think NFL have this, of running backs aren't to be valued too much. You just draft them, make the players bait the holes, and then you just get a body to run through it, because if they get injured, we'll get another one in. You've got a long list of people you can pick from in this draft.
Yeah. Like a good running back will follow his blocks and gets what blocks for him. An exceptional running back will do that, but he'll also create his own yardage. And Bijan's that kind. PFF charted him with 104 missed tackles or broken tackles. Can't remember which one it was. Which is the most ever charted in college football. So even with shoddy O-line play, he's still creating yards for himself after the play's broken down, essentially.
I think everybody's talking about this guy, aren't they, of being, an absolute superstar. And I think when there's that much hype and that much talk, it's very unlikely that he does miss. I think back to the QBs, I think QB success rate is pretty low, isn't it? Especially first rounders. There's a lot of busts in there. Whereas I think in the running backs, and from a fantasy perspective, let's watch some of these running backs we talk about. If they land in a good spot at the draft, I think they can be really fantasy relevant really quickly.
Like Bijan, it doesn't matter where he lands, to be honest.
No, not him, no.
Because the team's going to use, even, it's been mentioned that the Patriots might be interested in. The Patriots have got Ramondre Stevenson. Bill Belichick uses a first-round pick on a running back. Ramondre is done, finished, gone.
Wherever he goes, he's going to be. Wherever he goes, he's going to be an absolute plug-in week one stud player. So you'd be stupid not to use him, wouldn't you? So whoever's going to pull the trigger first, and again back to the theory is you don't draft a running back in the first round. Somebody's going to start getting itchy and go for him pretty early, aren't they? Is that what we think?
Yeah. And by doing that, they're also saying, we're giving this guy all the work, basically. Because it's the most cost control position in the league. It's the most devalued position in the league, and the team's using the first round pick on him. So they have to use him, basically.
Any predictions of where he goes?
No, not making a prediction. I know where
you'd like him.
Where I'd like him to go.
Okay, here's another question: does he go in the top 20 or outside the top 20?
I would say outside the top 20.
What, in redraft?
No, in the actual draft.
Right, on the actual draft.
The actual draft itself.
And
in redraft. 1-2 turn.
I was going to say, in fantasy perspective, you'd be liking to get in the second round, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you'd be delighted to get him in the second round.
I think so.
You're asking where I think he might go. I'll make a prediction, actually.
That didn't take too long.
No, it's just The Minnesota Vikings.
Ah,
That's
okay.
where we'll go. Once Cook can pass a medical, they'll cut him, and they'll cut Dalvin Cook, or they'll trade him. One of the two, probably cut him, and they'll draft Bijan as his plug and play.
Wow. Does that massively increase their capabilities in the league? Do you think, in terms of saying Lions are clear favourite for that division? Do you think if they did get Bijan, they'd be in the mix?
I think they'd have a chance of getting close to the fraudulent amount of wins that they got to last year.
Back-to-back frauds, eh?
Yeah. But no, I think they Bijan there, maybe. I don't know.
Big thank you, Just Bombs Productions there for that highlight reel.
It's very like the one thing with Bijan, he's not someone. He was used in the passing game a bit in college. He's not someone like CMC Eckler that you can kind of line up in the slot and give him an option route and he's going to go there. But you give him a screen and he's going to be ridiculously efficient with it. It's about 13.5 yards per reception he averaged in college, which is exceptional for a running back.
Is that a good segue? If you're saying he's not a CMC, he's not a pass catching back, is that a good segue into the second running back off the board, Blandy?
Yeah, because this lad definitely is.
Jahmyr Gibbs. I've seen some comparisons or some saying that he was the best pass catcher in Alabama, better than all the wide receivers.
Yeah, that's fine. The Alabama don't have any wide receivers.
He's still not a receiver, though, is he?
He's not. No, but he's like he's had 103 receptions in 31 games in college. He's absolutely exceptional. That's where his fantasy value is going to come from, because his fantasy value is not going to come from him being a rusher.
No.
He's only had a maximum. He's only had a high of 195 touches, and that came actually with Alabama last year. But then they never used him at the goal line. So there's a lot to be excited about with Gibbs. There's also just a couple of red flags. Like, he only weighed in 199 pounds, which is less than ideal. And he wasn't a workhorse back in college. Even when he was at Georgia, he only had 1 year. He only had one season at Alabama his last year. Before then, he had 2 years at Georgia Tech, and he wasn't a workhorse there. So he's not going to come in to the NFL in a workhorse role. What he will be, though, he'll be probably the 1A in a committee. If you kind of think of how Kamara was used in his rookie year or his first couple of years in the league with Mark Ingram, that's kind of what you're going to be looking at, eh? But get the lad in space. Oh God, yeah, get the lad in space. Get the ball in his hands and just let his speed go to work. Clocked a 4.36 and a 110 speed score at the combine. For his size, that was the 4.36 very good, even at 199. So yeah, let him get the ball in his hands, let him go to work, and
so a bit like the QBs. You've got a clear 1-2. You've got a clear.
He's even doing a punt return there.
Yes, I think it was a good punt return, wasn't he? No,
he in his college career he had over 1,000 yards as a kick returner. Like,
yeah.
That's exceptional, eh? That tells you how explosive he is, eh? The fact that they were putting back, college teams put their best players back to return. It's unlike the NFL. They put the best players back to return kicks because they just want to get the ball into the best players' hands anywhere they possibly can. Yeah. At over 1,000 yards as a kick return, that's exceptional.
Redraft, where's he going?
He's going around about 5th, 6th round at the minute.
Yeah.
which
Would you expect that to go up or down, depend where he lands, Blandy? Is there anything that would put you
I
off some-
think it comes down to landing spots, Barry. And someone asked me yesterday, where would you like to see him land? And this probably please you, Carlos, because I'd like to see him land with the Broncos.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
They look good in orange.
Because we've got serious concerns over Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
Sean Payton is that, a lot of people like to talk of Gibbs as, his comp is Alvin Kamara, and it kind of is and it isn't. You can see why people would say that, but also Kamara's 15 pounds heavier as well, so you can do a bit more in the running game with Kamara than what you can do with Gibbs. But it's easy to see why people would
Put two and two together.
Comparison. Yeah.
Next one, Zach Carbonnet.
On it like a car bonnet, aren't we? I like this guy. I'm on him like a car bonnet.
Charbonnet.
Charbonnet, is it?
Charbonnet, is it?
Charbonnet.
I think I drank a bottle of that last week, actually, Charbonnet.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I was going to try and stick with Just Bonds Productions, but I can't find them, so it's top one.
Now, I've again, just having a little bit of prep for this, I watched a few bits of his tape, and this guy's got a lovely little stutter step thing where he sort of like squares his man up, quick fast feet, and then goes either side. Something it reminds me a little bit of Jason Robinson in rugby for England, where he just sort of has that pause, that stutter, and then bursts. I think there's something that's quite nice on his tape watching that. Whether that will work in the NFL or not, I don't know, but he can make his man miss, and it seems like it takes a lot to get him down. He was breaking a lot of arm tackles. You've got to really get hold of him and get him down. Big guy. I think he's got good potential.
I actually thought it'd be bigger than what he measured in. He was only 214 at the combine. I actually thought he was bigger than that. But no, he is. I like it, but one of the comps I have for him actually, Barry, is JJ. who I know you like.
Big fan of Jay. Good player, JJ.
Yeah, that's one of the comps that I had for him. But the good thing about him, especially last year when he went back to college, and that he said the reason why he went back to college last year, because he is a 4-year player, so that's a bit of a red flag for him. Ideally, you'd much rather him be a 3-year player. But the reason he went back to college was for this exact reason here, to prove that he can play in the passing game.
He looks tall.
Yeah, he's 6 foot, which is...
He looks taller than that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
On this film,
he kind of reminded me... He kind of reminds me in a way of Najee Harris when you watch him.
Oh, I like that. I like
that. Look at that.
Yeah, I like that little bit of aggression there. Nice.
Where he kind of does a lot of things. Like I don't think he does anything very good. I just think he does a lot of things okay, you know.
Tries out.
I think he's a little bit harsh. I know what you mean. He's not outstanding or anything. He's just good all round.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what his a bit like Najee, what his breakaway speed is. I don't know we're going to get any 70-yard touchdown runs for him or anything like that. He only clocked a 4.53 at the combine, which for his size is fine.
Maybe not, but again, if he's still getting his touches and he's still getting his 100+ yards, you can live with not having that 70-80 yard home run in him, can't you?
Yeah, because I think he's going to be one of these ones he's going to get there on volume as opposed to efficiency.
He's got the look of a 3-down back, hasn't he? He might not start as a 3-down, but he's got that again, maybe more in dynasty than redraft or second half of the season redraft. But he's got the look of I can catch as well as I can run. Therefore, I can be a 3-downer.
Like I definitely think like Gibbs is going as the clear 2 and Charbonnet is going as the clear 3. But I wouldn't be totally surprised where in a year's time Charbonnet was valued higher than Gibbs, because we've seen Charbonnet have a 3-down role where we've just seen Gibbs, kind of used it as a committee.
I would say he's probably not big enough to be a 3-down back as well. Are we saying with Gibbs?
Yeah. I don't think Gibbs at the moment has that frame to be a 3-down back.
Look at him go. It's some good video on him, isn't there?
Yeah. Like he's pretty evasive.
I mean, obviously everyone looks good in the highlight reel, but
exactly. Yeah, no one has shit highlights, do they? So when you see someone on a highlight reel and they don't really stand out, they just look okay. You think, well, he must be really shit.
In terms of redraft, where is he going? What, 10th or something?
Yeah, 9th, 10th round. Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. I think he's going to be one of these players, a bit like what Tyler Algier was this year, where he kind of like, half the season doesn't really do much, but then the second half of the season really picks up, takes over his whatever backfield he is, becomes the 1A in that backfield, and then is kind of like your league winner down the stretch.
I think as well, if we talk about the strategy at the start of the show of where you're drafting running backs, if you're going to go for a bit of a stud towards the start in the first 2 or 3 rounds, and then you're going to fire a few shots later on, he's a guy for me to fire some shots on.
Yeah, I think you definitely want to be firing shots on a couple of rookies later on.
And I think this class is full of these guys, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you about one right now. He's called.
I'm going to say, come on, Anthony, you give us a running back who you've been hyping up.
It's called Tank Bigsby.
Right, let me just get me notes up, Anthony, and I'll shit all over him for you.
If he's called Tank, I like the sound of him.
Well, exactly. That's what. Obviously, what
is that as far as your research goes?
No. Listen, I've written some of it down. Give me a chance. That's obviously what drew my eye because he was called Tank. But absolute superstar for the Tigers over the last 3 seasons. Now, this is the important bit, right? He played behind the 3rd lowest graded run blocking line in the SEC. And he still averages...
SEC.
SEC.
SEC. English slang.
He averages the 7th most rushing yards after contact per attempt, 4.2. He's incredibly shifty, who can plant his foot in the ground and explode in the opposite direction. So I reckon he's a punt.
I don't know, right, where he's going to be drafted. I liked just looking at his college profile, what he did, box score and everything. I thought, yeah, Grant, he's the kind of guy that I'm going to be interested in. But then when I saw him, when you pull up his testing numbers at the combine, he was horrendous, and he absolutely killed himself, I think, at the combine with his testing. You only
when you say killed himself, what do you mean? Pushed himself too hard, or just his numbers were so bad that he dropped?
His numbers were pretty poor. 4.56 40 when you only weigh 210 is
not good enough.
Is not great. Speed score they'll only equate it to a 44th percentile speed score of 97.
Could it just be a bad day though? Can we write a 1 day off in any? Not just this
not
guy.
Really, not really, because if you watch him on these highlights here, what Ant's showing, when you'll see him when he gets a hole, he's grand and he's away and he's gone. Like this one here,
he didn't look rapid there, did he? He looked like he was. He looked like he was pulling the piano there, didn't he?
Yeah,
he doesn't you watch him. He doesn't look fast to me.
It looks like he leans forward quite a bit, doesn't he? Looks a bit off balance.
Yeah.
Man, he's not looking too shabby there.
You'll see him. He'll get tackled from behind and that, and yeah, I'm just. I think at the combine.
Again, I think that's another good. I think maybe you're being a bit harsh on there. That's another good run. That one there against Mississippi. I think
he's a good player.
Yeah, I think what I could take out this, Anthony, is if you sat behind Blandy in the draft, he's not going to take him, so you can have him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't be. I won't be getting much time.
He'll be the last rounder, won't he?
Yeah, and generally in the teams.
Depending on where he goes.
Generally, and generally at the minute he's going in the teams.
It depends on it depends on your landing spot, but it depends on the format of the structure of the fantasy union. Some of the ones we do, the NFL app one, there's not a lot of bench spots, so there's not a lot of spare room. So he is, like say, that last couple of rounds. But
it looks pacey there.
Yeah, if you don't get him and he nobody gets him and he has a good game or two, he's going to go for a lot of money on the waivers, isn't he? Because he's a rookie and he's flashed. So there's that punt there, isn't there?
That was nice. That was nice. I
think you're talking. The more you watch this video, Ad, the more you're talking yourself into him, aren't you?
But like Blandy said, if you watch highlight reel, it's supposed.
If you don't look at the highlight reel, you want to pack him.
Yeah. I wasn't taken with him. I think the comp I've got for him is Mike Davis.
Okay. So if we move on to somebody else, who else would you like to move on to then, Blandy?
Are we still talking running backs, or are we doing running
backs? Yeah, I think.
There's loads.
This is a deep running back class. So I think we should. Yeah. I think we should whiz through a couple quickly then.
Right. My latest crush is Izzy Abanikanda.
Easy for you to say.
Abanikanda. Yeah, exactly. Izzy Abanikanda from Pitt. Now, really liked his production profile. It was a workhorse in college, although he wasn't overly used in the passing game. He did enough, but again, it was just dump offs and screens, and he wasn't asked to do a great deal as a receiver. But you watch him, and he looks absolutely lightning when you get him in space or he's breaking tackles. You'll see some of the plays here where you watch him, and he looks rapid. But he never tested at the combine because he was injured. So you were kind of thinking, all right, okay, kind of want to see him test it. Watch this. Look at this, 70 yards.
That does look fast. That does look fast.
And then and you're thinking, fuck me, he's rapid. Like this lad's rapid. And then he did his testing yesterday at the pro day, and the first time was given as 4.41, but then when he's run again, they've said it was in the 4.3s. Well, even a 4.41 will give him the fastest speed score in this class amongst all running backs. And his broad and vertical jump would have been number one at the combine as well. So his explosion and his speed, which shows up on film, has been backed up by his numbers at his pro day.
I think,
and he's got a pretty good, he's got a pretty good production profile at college as well, and that athletic profile kind of backs up what you see on tape, and I'm pretty excited about this guy.
We had a little bit of chat about him, didn't we, the last couple of days when some of the tweets about what his official time was at these combines, and I think there was a big variance between two different times, which is mental because all you've got to do is press the stopwatch and read the timeout. So I don't know how you could get a variance. However,
it's because there's no official time. It's just scouts. All scouts are there.
That's mental. This is $1 billion business. Why is there not an official time? You can have an official time in blooming school swimming galas. Why have people not got official times in these sort of things? And that mini red flag is not running at the combine. Yes, he can be injured, but like you said on Tank Bigsby, what it's called, if you put some bad numbers up, your stock dips. So if I'm not sure, or if I'm looking better on my highlights than I really am, do I just have a tight hamstring and I don't run at the combine? It's a real mini red flag, but
like it doesn't really. Well, not really, because
for me it is.
Even if he's like I'm not taking, like there was like 4.29, so I'm not 4.29. The 4.41, the 4.41 is perfectly fine for his size.
Yeah, that's a good time. Yeah, absolutely.
And but it actually when you watch him play on film, like it shows up that he's fast. and he's put up a legitimate time as well to back up what you're actually watching. So it's easily believable.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not. I'm just questioning why there's not a real. It should be a bit more official than that. Is he?
No, because they don't. At pro days they don't. At pro days they don't. They don't do that.
The thing is, Tank showed up. You know what I mean? Tank showed up, Barry. Tank showed up.
Put his balls on the line, didn't he?
He fucking showed up.
That's tanked himself.
Is this guy then, Blandy, a little bit later in the rankings of the running back, given it's quite a deep class, and he's maybe missed the combine, and maybe are people sleeping on him a bit? Is he towards the end of the rankings?
They were until yesterday.
But again, if you do it at the combine, there's a lot more eyes on it. If you do it,
because
not necessarily from a club team perspective, but from a fantasy perspective, a lot of people don't probably spend as much time on Twitter looking at times as maybe you do. So, do you think people have got him a little bit lower in the rankings than his talent suggests?
Quite possibly, yeah. Quite possibly.
So
the one now though, because everybody knows now what he's done yesterday to back up what you see when you're watching it. He's gone again.
I don't know. I don't know if they do, Blandy. If you went into a draft in the next week or so with people, would every one of them know what his time was at his pro day? I'm not sure they would. So I think he's still got some potential to get him a bit. If you're saying that the talent level's high, the speed's high, I think you've got a few people sleeping on him still. So maybe
unless you're in really, really competitive leagues. I mean, you could go in our league and no one would know who this fucking guy was in a month of Suns.
Yeah. Adrian Peterson will get drafted above him in our league.
Can't wait.
All day.
Yeah, he's only 20 years old. He's another 10 years before he pops up on Kev's radar.
Doesn't draft rookies, Kev.
Doesn't draft anyone under the age of 25.
What about another couple? So you like Tank Bigsby? I like Carbonnet. Blandy likes Izzy, whatever his name is. What about? There's another couple of names that are coming up quite high in the rankings. Ty J Spears.
Ty J, yeah. So he's next one on my list actually. So 4-year player at Tulane, put on a shitload of weight at the combine.
He had an ACL, didn't he? Did he have an ACL injury?
Quite possibly. I
think he had an ACL. I've got a note saying he has an ACL as a freshman, but he's had 2 years post that, so maybe that's why he stayed an extra year. And I think
quite possibly
one of his numbers was 7 yards a carry in college, which is a pretty good number.
7.3 yards a touch, but he was only in the American Conference.
So a weaker division.
Played at Tulane. Yeah, much weaker division. The thing that's interesting to me, caught 41 of his 48 receptions in college.
Good pass catcher.
41 of the 48 came in the last 2 years. So he definitely developed in the last couple of years as a pass catcher. Put up a decent enough time at his pro day. He didn't test again at the combine. He said he got nervous at the combine. That's why he didn't test. I'm not sure that's the truth, because he put on a shitload of weight. He was about 185, 187 or something when he finished college, and he weighed in at the combine at 201. So he probably filled himself up full of fucking fast food.
A bit on the AJ Brown diet, eh?
To get above that 200-pound mark. But then when he's tested at his pro day, the 4.47 time is perfectly fine. His broad jump at the combine was very good. I think he was in the top 3 or 4 for his broad jump. So he was pretty explosive that way, and it shows up on tape. When you watch him, he's got a bit of bounce to him. He can be pretty elusive.
Okay,
it's a lovely catch, that little back shoulder.
He's one to keep an eye on. There's a few sort of little question marks on him, but I think he's relatively in the mix in the running back class of this year, isn't he? Sort of after the first 3 or 4, he's he's one of the ones. That looks a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be a day 2 pick, which obviously is.
Well, there's not many. There's not many going to go off the board on day 1, though, is there? So day 2.
No, you've already
that's a good standard.
You've got Bijan, who's going to go. Who's going to go first round, and then the rest are going to, they're going to fill in after that. Gibbs, Charbonnet definitely going to go. Gibbs is definitely going to go in the second round. Charbonnet, I think, will probably go in the second round as well.
Okay.
And then, it looks like Spears is going to go in the third round, which it gives him a chance. Gives him a chance.
What about the guy? Is it Devon Kane?
Devon A. Chain. Yeah.
Chain. I mean,
yeah.
Again, he'll be having again looked at some of the profile stuff. He's a track person. Is he the fastest running back in the class? So again, NFL teams get absolutely obsessed with the speed. They want the next Tyreek Hill. So this guy will get drafted. But again, I think he looks pretty good as well, doesn't he?
Yeah. The problem is he's 188 pounds.
So again, I think what I've got on him, he's a bit of a back who can sort of get on the outside. He's not going to Derrick Henry run down the middle and just smash through people. You're going to need to get him in that space on the outside and get him the ball. But he does look like he's, with that speed. If you take the wrong angle on him, he's gone. Yeah.
So it was a proper workhorse at Texas A&M. Last year at Texas A&M, once Isaiah Spiller went to the NFL. He had 15 and a half touches a game. He averaged.
Okay.
Again, he's another one. He had 600 yards or over 600 yards as a kick returner. Yeah. 65 receptions as well in his college career in that SEC, as Ant calls it, the SEC. The old SEC. But if you go on NFL mock draft database, and they've got him as the 4th running back being drafted. 64. So the end of the second round, start the third round. He's projected to go. So if a team takes him that high, then they're basically saying, right, we've got a plan, and this is how we're going to use you, kind of thing. What you don't want to have, and the kind of player that he reminds me of, is Kenny Gainwell, where Kenny Gainwell was used like this in college. He's of similar stature, and prior to the draft, everyone was super hyped about Kenny Gainwell, and then in the actual NFL draft, he fell to the 5th round, and the Eagles have pretty much used him like a 5th round pick. They've not treated him like the workhorse that he was used as when he was in college, and they just sprinkle him in every now and again. So I think draft capital is going to matter a hell of a lot with A-Chain. If he is drafted in the second round, then the team's drafted him with a clear plan of how they're going to use him, how they're going to involve him. If he falls in the draft to the 5th round, then he's pretty much off the board from a fantasy point of view.
I mean, again, I just know that NFL teams love speed, don't they? Love that raw speed. And this guy, if he's the fastest running back in the class from the times of the combine, that tells me that someone will take a punt on him. But I think it's like we said at the start. It's always about that.
Yeah, but
there's not a lot of true 3-down backs, and he's going to be looked to me as like some screens from
if the just use him as a kick returner.
Yeah. Like Pacheco was the fastest running back in the draft last year, and he fell to the 7th round.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So yes, he will. He'll definitely get drafted. It's just a case of where, I'd feel a lot more comfortable drafting him in fantasy if a team took him, drafted him in the second round of the NFL.
To him, that gives you that confidence.
Yeah, and it certainly looks like he is going to get the draft capital. So if that's as things stand at the minute, I've taken him in drafts pre-NFL draft. I've no bother taking him at the moment, because it does look like he's going to get the draft capital. The draft capital is going to be massive for him, because there's another player who's even smaller than him, Deuce Vaughn, running back from Kansas State. Deuce Vaughn. He it looks like he isn't going to get the draft capital, but he was used exactly the same way as A-Chain was. But at the minute, it looks like he's not going to get the draft capital. So, from a fantasy point of view, he's going a lot later in the. He's going a lot later in drafts at the minute.
Okay. Is there anyone else?
Is this in here, Anthony? Is this who you've pulled up here? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like Deuce Vaughn, this lad, he's about the same.
He just looks tiny there, doesn't he? He looks tiny.
Yeah, he's 5'5".
Jesus.
But there are some really small running backs. How tall is Boston Scott? I mean, he's a small, nippy little fella, isn't he?
Yeah, but I think like Scott about 5'8" or something like
I
that.
don't know. He looks.
But again,
looks like a kid.
I know.
I mean, sometimes you get stood next to them linemen, or
Yeah.
you look tiny. I mean, we would probably look small against some of these guys, but he does look particularly small.
Yeah, but like again, Boston Scott, he was a UDFA, he was an undrafted free agent.
Right. Okay.
You know, and he was on the 5'6".
Look at that there.
Yeah. Oh, like the numbers he put up in college, absolutely unreal for someone his size.
So, are you saying he'll get drafted or not, then, Blandy?
I don't think he will get drafted, but like he averaged 20 touches a game.
Oh, how would he get that in there as well?
Like 116 receptions, 11 yards of reception. Like it's 20 touches a game he averaged. But it's the size. The size is the absolute killer, right?
But he's not running against small. I know the theory is obviously you've got NFL, everyone's bigger, faster, stronger. He's not running against small guys, are you? Some of them guys try to tackle him there. Some of their backs are massive.
No, yeah. So he's like a Dion Lewis, Tariq Cohen type of player. So yeah, I mean, if he does get any kind of draft capital, then it'll be a bonus for him,
Okay.
But yeah,
anyone else in the running back class that we want to mention?
Right, you like Zach Evans, yeah?
I was going to say the only one I've got is Zach Evans, just because of one particular highlight where he absolutely munches two guys. And when I watched the tape, I thought this is brilliant. Give me this guy.
Yeah, the thing, like Evans is someone
it's against Texas Tech, I think. Yeah, about 4 down and
It's against
Texas Tech.
No, that's A&M. 1 up. Oh, where are you going? Like with Evans, he's like ridiculously efficient on what he's done when he's been used. The only problem is he's only ever had a high of 156 touches in a season in his college career. So he's not used at all as a workhorse.
Oh, hey, look at that! Get out! I'd get the contract out as soon as you want. Look at them two men absolutely flawed. Bosh. Like, he's been really efficient with his touches, but just for whatever reason they never gave him more. And he was at 2 colleges as well, because he was at TCU and then he transferred as well. Yeah, I was going to say that we discussed him. The fact he couldn't hold down that you can't hold down the RB1 role at college has got to be a bit of a question mark, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely a red flag. And again, he's another one who hasn't tested at all yet.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I think that's all my running backs off the board.
Wide receivers.
I've got plenty more running backs, but we can yeah.
We'll miss the draft at this rate.
Well, that's it. We can come back. We'll come back after the draft and see if any of these ones lower down that I've got interest in them.
Yeah.
But I think the running backs are going to dominate the pre-draft discussion because it's a deeper class. When we move on to wide receivers, I think this is one of the weaker wide receiver classes. Is that general thought process?
No. This is a normal wide receiver class. We've just been spoilt the last few years with exceptional wide receiver classes.
So it's not as good as previous years, but it's got some talent in.
This is just what you should kind of expect, yeah. You know, we've been spoiled.
Jackson Smith in Jigba.
Yeah, JSN. Yeah.
Is the concern with him? He's a slot guy only?
No. Like he only played in the slot in college, but his two outside receivers were Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave.
Mm-hmm.
So they had no reason to move him out of the slot, did they?
Yeah.
You know, he's 196. He's 6 foot, 196 pounds. So there's absolutely no reason whatsoever why he can't play outside from a physique point of view. And it's looking pretty much likely that he's going to go in the first round, probably early to mid first round as well. So if a team, again, similar to what we were saying about Bijan, if a team is putting that much draft capital into him, they're not viewing him solely as a slot-only player, because you wouldn't use that draft capital on a pure slot guy, especially in this draft classes where it's full of slot-only draft guys.
But is that phrase slot only not like it's seen as a negative, but that it doesn't have to be a negative? I mean, is CeeDee Lamb not a slot only guy?
No, because CD in two wide, CD lines up outside. You know, so you look at the Bengals, yeah. You look at the Bengals when the Bengals go 12 personnel, Tyler Boyd's off the field, yeah. When the Dallas Cowboys go 12 personnel, CD's still on the field. He lines Tyler Lockett with the Seahawks, yeah. You know, when they go three wide, Tyler Lockett goes in the slot. When they go 2 wide, Tyler Lockett plays on the outside.
I know. Again, the statistics say you want to be on the field more often the field. You know, more chance to get touch the ball. But if you're a slot specialist or just say better in the slot, it's still a skill set, and again, it's harder to match up sometimes in the slot. I think CeeDee Lamb is, probably the best out of the slot there is, isn't he? And I think, you look at him sometimes, the routes he runs, the separation he gets. If you are exceptional at the slot, that shouldn't be a negative. That's just I can use different pieces in a different way.
That's what I'm saying. No, it's definitely not a negative. It's definitely not a negative. But if you are only a slot-only player, when your team goes 2 wide, you're off the field. See, that's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. With CD, when they go 2 wide, CD stays on the field. When they go 3 wide, he goes in the slot. Yeah. So he's always on the field. If you're a slot-only player, then when your team goes 2 wide, like Tyler Boyd, you're off the field.
Yeah.
You're off the field. Yeah. So no, like JSN, if team takes him, mid first round, they're not viewing him as someone who can only play in the slot. They're viewing him, yes, your best position's in the slot, but when we go 2 wide, you're staying on the field and you're going out wide.
Who else have we got then? Who else? Again, I say this guy looks like JSN looks like he's number 1. I think the guy I looked at was probably is he the consensus number 2? Is it Quentin Johnson? I think he was.
Jordan Addison.
Yeah, probably. I've got him in the same tier, but.
Well, I think Quentin Johnson's the guy who I like the look of, again, from what I've seen. And I think
Quentin up, Memphis. Let's bring Quentin up.
He made a great catch at the combine, didn't he? I think it was on a CJ Stroud sort of deep balls, and it was way over his head, or it looked way high, and he just sprung huge high catch, feet and bounds, brought it down perfect. And I think his vertical jump was outstanding at the testing as well. I think he's a player who seems to be ticking a lot of the boxes when I've been looking at perspective wide receivers.
He's our thumbnail, so we'll do him first.
Yeah, his broad jump and his vertical jump were, were very, very good. He hasn't run a 40. No, let me check because they've got their pro day today. So let me see. Let me just check now, see if he's actually run a 40.
But he looks like that sort of long, rangy play on the outside. Chuck it up high. He's gonna fight the contested catch, go the highest, whatever. And
well, that's the thing. Like he only brought in 40% of his contested catches.
Okay.
Yeah, like the film watchers, who I'm most certainly not one of, have concerns about his catching technique. He's a body catcher. He catches it with his
into
body as opposed to out in front of him. He doesn't use his frame well for a big guy. So I think there's definitely red flags just on his production profile. I like him. I liked his production profile an awful lot. Just on the raw numbers, like I say, I would be someone who can evaluate film very good at all. But yeah, he had over 3 points, over 3 yards per route run in his junior in this final year. He had a 30% breakout as a 19-year-old, lined up pretty much outside. He's one of the only few, especially at the top of the draft, or the top of this draft class, that project to be like an X receiver. So it'll be interesting to see if he does run a 40 time.
He looks sort of quick,
rangy,
quick
doesn't he? Very rangy.
Yeah, he looks all long-legged. He looks
like
quick
that
off the mark as well, doesn't he? Like that on the break when he watches the tapes down, he seems to spring.
That's his. That's his. The broad and vert that you mentioned from the combine. That's that explosion showing up, isn't it? That's where that comes into play.
So I think again, when I've had a look down that class, I say whether we think it's the best class or just we've been spoiled previously.
Yeah,
this is the one of the guys I've got my eye on. I think.
Yeah, he's definitely the prototypical X receiver. Just like I say, there's definitely a few flags with him, I think. But also in this kind of class, you're not getting many players that have his frame and stature.
Who else do you like then?
Where's he projected to go in the real draft?
First round, I think.
Which teams are looking for it? Which teams have got wide receiver as one of their biggest needs?
I think a lot of teams have, haven't they? Yeah, middle to late first round. I mean, you can never have enough
good quality wide receivers. Yeah,
wide receivers, can you? Yeah. So I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if the Texans took him at 12.
Okay.
Wouldn't be the greatest shock in the world.
Also, new QB, new wide receiver.
Yeah.
Next guy, Jordan Addison.
Yeah.
Six-footer.
Yeah, 6 foot, but very slight. Only 173 pounds.
I was going to say his draft stock seems to have dropped a bit after testing. Is that because of the physicality? Is it?
Yeah, it is. like he only ran a 4.49, you know, at the weighing 173 pounds. So that's not good. You know, that's it's below average. Although for wide receivers, it's certainly less important for wide receivers as what it is for running backs. It's more important for running backs. But so like his speed score, so which is basically his weight and his 40 time combined, that come in at 12th percentile. So that's a really bad, and even his broad jump and his vert were below average as well. They were pretty poor as well. So he certainly didn't help himself at the combine. That's for sure. And he didn't help himself a great deal last year as well. He transferred from Pitt to USC. He won the Biletnikoff the year before at Pitt with Kenny Pickett. But when he went to USC, he lined up a lot more outside than what he had when he was at Pitt. When he was at Pitt, he lined up in the slot a lot. So obviously got a lot of softer, more free releases from the slot there. And last year, he only had 875 yards, which was kind of in line with his career average on a yards per reception point of view. So that didn't really change. It's just his overall numbers dropped for whatever reason, and it could well have been the different usage of where he was lining up.
Just getting a change in colleges is not going to help you. You know, that consistency is it?
Yeah, but the problem was he's playing with Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is his quarterback.
Oh right, okay. So you should be catching the ball, shouldn't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, Caleb Williams is going to go number 1 overall next year. So, So he's another one. Didn't help himself at the combine. How much stock you put into that? He's there's a taller but slighter Deontay Johnson, I think. That kind of player.
Okay. Who else have you got on your list then, Blandy?
So the next one would be Jalen Hyatt, who very, very torn on Jalen Hyatt. I don't know how to project him, because again, small, slight player. He ran a 4.4 at the combine, so he was, it's good speed, but for someone who's only 176 pounds, it's not elite speed. He's not a John Ross, someone like that. But that's kind of the way that he was used at college. Now, for his first 2 years in college, he did absolutely nothing. I think he caught 40 passes for about 500 yards, somewhere along that line. But then last year, he absolutely blew up. But Cedric Tillman got injured last year. The other wide receiver who had been productive when Hyatt was at college doing nothing, he got injured again. And Hyatt absolutely took off. But if you watch a lot of his film and what a lot of his film critics are saying, is that basically he got a lot of free. He's only small, so they made sure he got a lot of free releases, and because he's quick, the defenders covering him didn't press him at the line, so they stood right off him. And basically, he would just blaze past. All he was doing was just running go routes, just blazing past people all the time, just running past people. And Hendon Hooker was hitting him. So his projection's a bit rough because he's probably not a very good route runner. He was just schemed open an awful lot. in when he was with Tennessee. And like when we spoke, we were chatting about Hendon Hooker the other day, and what we've heard from some scouts is that the Tennessee offense was a bit gimmicky. Hooker, obviously he executed it very well, but it's not like it wasn't like an NFL
different style.
scheme.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Transfer how that transfers is the question mark.
Yeah. I mean, some people have Nelson Aguilar as Jalen Hyatt's comp, which
that's not. You don't want to be. You don't want to be an Aguilar.
Yeah, I think. I
hope he's not watching. I hope he's not watching, by the way. But you don't want to be a Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah. I've got Paul Richardson was my comp for him. Remember him from the Seahawks and the Commanders.
Washington. I've heard the name, but the fact that he doesn't jump off the page doesn't do any favors.
Like it was a first round pick, it was a first round pick, a first round bust as well, and that's kind of what I've got for Hyatt.
Okay.
Let me have a look. Let me pick one.
Come on then, Anthony.
Oh, I like that name. I'm going to go Zay Flowers.
Right, okay, yeah. He's next on my list, actually.
It's as if it was scripted.
Yeah. So he's an older prospect. He's 22 already. He's going to be 23 the first month of the season. So that's not ideal. He has historically short arms. That's yeah.
Right, see you put your temper pissed now, right? This episode, right? It's been a nice night. I'll see you next week.
His arm length is in the bottom 4th percentile of all wide receivers.
It's mad what the record, isn't it? It's absolutely mad.
Yeah. Now, like massively productive at a lesser college, Boston College. Yeah.
Is this him on the screen now? I'm just looking how big his arms are. I need to see him.
Yeah. But he's only a small guy. He reminds me of Brandon Cooks.
Got that one all right.
Yeah.
He doesn't look to have small arms.
No. Yeah, he reminds me of Brandon Cooks. Like he's a small guy, slight, but he primarily just plays on the outside. He doesn't really play in the slot. I think he lined up about 90% of the time. He was lined up outside. No, that's bullshit. 66% of his routes come outside. Again, 30% breakout as a 19-year-old, which is what you want to see.
He was in the spot there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Nice little spin move as well.
Yeah. So there's definitely an upside case to be made for him, for Flowers, and
yeah,
I think Cooks is a pretty fair comp to him. He clocked an okay time, 4.42 at the combine, which is perfectly fine. It seems to be a decent route runner from what I've seen, just basic film watching.
I like him.
And again, he looks like he's probably going to go late first round, early second round.
He's had everything against him all the way through his life with his short arms, and look where he is now.
Yeah. So, like, if he does go at the end of the first round, it's going to be great for him because he's going to go to a good offense. He's going to go to a good offense. He's going to go to a good quarterback. So I could definitely see him being bumped up. from where he's been taken at the moment.
I like him.
But yeah, excuse me, I do like him. Apart from his little arms, when he was in college for 4 years.
Did they say why he did like an extra year then?
I'm not sure. I don't know. If I dug into it, I'd probably be able to find out why, but I haven't.
Josh Downs?
Right, so he probably is just a pure slot guy. I don't think he can play on the outside at all.
Is this size driven?
Yeah, and also probably technique driven as well.
Okay.
But I do actually really like him. I think he's got like a really high floor, but kind of low ceiling, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But he looks absolutely electric. Now we spoke about the Panthers earlier and the corpse of Adam Thielen. Like if someone like Josh Downs went to Carolina as a rookie in that kind of weak wide receiver core, I think you could probably pencil him in for about 130 targets as a rookie. He was really productive. He wasn't I thought he'd have run faster because he's only 171 pounds. It's about 5 foot 5'9". Ran a 4.48, so fine, not great, fine. If he can play outside, I'm not sure he can. But if he can play outside, he's probably going to be someone like a Darnell Mooney, that kind of player. But 89% of his routes were in the slot, so it's a massive amount of routes from the slot, and a lot of it was scheme touches as well. It wasn't like go win the route downfield. It was come and stand next to the quarterback and he's going to throw you a screen and then you're kind of away you go kind of thing. You go get the yards after the catch yourself. But like the last couple of years in college, he's put up nearly 2,500 yards. So he's no slouch with the ball in his arm either. But a lot, like I say, a lot of it was scheme stuff. So one of the comps that came up for him was Ted Ginn. Ted Ginn.
Ted Ginn, who for Saints.
Remember? Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like he never had like massive fantasy seasons, but like he hung around in the league for about 13 years or something like that.
Didn't he just get like long bonds, didn't he?
He did with the Saints, yeah.
Oh yes, I know what you mean now. Yeah,
I think did he when the Panthers got to the Super Bowl? Was he on the Panthers? I think he might have been on.
Might
the Panthers.
Have been, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of that player, or maybe a younger Cole Beasley kind of thing. That kind of player. But I think he's probably got a pretty high floor, safe floor, but maybe just doesn't have the highest of ceilings. I think you could probably take him and he'll be fine for you, and you'll get you'll be able to plug him in to your lineup, especially in Dynasty, and you'll get plenty of decent years out of him, but without ever having a great year.
Okay. You're not selling him too high there, then, eh? But
no,
maybe.
No. Yeah. I don't think the ceiling's there with him, but I think he's got a pretty solid floor.
So getting back to, obviously we don't know where these guys are getting drafted, but
No.
if we were doing a pre-draft fantasy league, would you be particularly high on any of these receivers? Or in my head, I think I'd rather take more established receivers, even if they're maybe only a wide receiver 2 in certain teams, or is someone you think I want him on my roster because I think there's a real upside on him.
JSN's gone in the 5th round of drafts.
Okay.
And then the rest of the rookies start coming in around about round 9. I mean, you did a best ball with me, Barry, last week, and the established wide receivers that are available by the time you get to round 9 just want to make you throw up in your mouth. So that's where you kind of start hammering rookies at that point.
But by round 9, you should have a few good receivers on your team, shouldn't you?
Yeah, you by that point you probably want to have at least 5, I would say.
So you're going to have to land someone who becomes pretty exceptionally good at certain points of the season to nudge out some of the 4 or 5 guys you've picked ahead of them. Whereas I think if you flip that on on what we're saying on running backs, you're picking 1 or 2 early, and then you're taking some shots at guys who think once they get their opportunity, they could be a plug-in starter. Where I don't see that from a fantasy perspective too much on the wide receivers.
No, I think other than JSN, a lot of it is you're just going to have to wait and see where they land, and especially in redraft, just kind of wait and see where they
land.
How quickly they get acclimatized.
It seems to me you get your out and out running back at the start, like your bedrock, and then just take punts on these rookies at the end at the running back position for me.
Yeah, with running backs and also with wide receivers. Like generally, like I said, with the last couple of years, with the wide receivers we've had with the wide receiver classes we've kind of been spoiled. But if you remember the few years prior to that, it wasn't until that generally usually the second half of the season that rookie wide receivers started coming on. Started becoming more fantasy relevant. And I think that's probably going to be the case with the majority of this class, with the exception of JSN.
I was going to say, you don't see the Justin Jefferson, the Jamar Chase in here, though, do you? That's the thing. I think the thing in dynasties, you're not going to put too much capital into some of these guys, because I don't think there's an absolute stud receiver in there.
No, there's only JSN. Like JSN, you're looking at Amon-Ra, St. Brown, or early career Jarvis Landry is kind of what, like Jarvis Landry first couple of years in the league was LSU. That's kind of what you're looking at with JSN.
And even still with the landing spot, where's the best landing spot for a receiver going to be? Well, you probably want whoever ends up in Kansas City, because you've got Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball, but there's only going to be a handful of places you think, well, that's going to really boost the receiver because they've got such an elite quarterback throwing the ball. There's not many spots that they're going to land in.
Yeah, with JSN, I'm not too bothered about where he lands, to be honest.
But the rest of the pack mainly.
Yeah, because there's no. I don't think there's any studs. It doesn't, like previously when like AJ Brown went to Tennessee, everyone was kind of a bit down on him, but there was no reason to be down on him because the guy was an absolute stud. And eventually, that talent will come through and win out. Where there's only Jason, I think, in this class where he's kind of landing spot proof. The rest is, see what it is and reevaluate after the draft.
Is there any tight end fantasy relevant?
Yeah, this is a great tight end class, Anthony.
It's a good tight end class, but what about from a fantasy relevance perspective? Because with tight ends, do we always think it's a hard position to acclimatise to the league? If you've got a team where they want the tight end to be able to block and do a bit more than just catch the ball.
Yeah, but we'd probably only have the ones that are projected to go in the first few rounds in the draft. There's probably only Darnell Washington who projects as someone who's going to be asked to do a lot of blocking and not really do much as a receiver, as a receiving tight end. But
Who is the number one guy? Is this Meyer guy? What's he called?
Possibly, yeah. He's probably going to be the first.
He's a bit of an all-rounder, though, isn't he? He's pretty good in the blocking game and everything else.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is good as a blocker as well as a receiver. But Dalton Kincaid.
I was going to say the one I picked up was Dalton Kincaid from the pass catching ability and that size and mismatch that teams will probably get from him. I think he's got a decent upside from a tight end.
He's probably the best pure receiver tight end in the class, and Michael Mayer's probably the best all rounder, shall we say? But the one. There's a tight end I really like. He's projected to go in the third round, which would be grand, and I'd be delighted if the Rams decided to draft him in the third round.
You're not picking the draft for the Rams, are you, Blandy?
Unfortunately, no. And that's Sam Laporta from Iowa. And obviously, we know Iowa are very good when it comes to
producing tight ends, aren't they?
Tight ends, yeah. So in the last 2 years, he's led Iowa in receiving yardage of any skill position, like wide receiver, tight ends.
But how many of these guys? If there's 4 or 5 real top guys, how many of them drop in and play week 1 to 5?
Meyer definitely. I would imagine if Kincaid gets the draft capital that is expected to get, like we spoke about previously, teams are drafting him with a clear plan. Now he's expected to go in the first round. So
right.
That's
a lot of investment, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and whoever drafts him, they know that they're not going to get anything out of him as a blocker. So you're not drafting him. You're not drafting him for what he can do. As a blocker, you're drafting him for what he can offer you straight away as a receiver.
Because I just think of Kyle Pitts, and he was the exceptional freak tight end, and it still did take him a bit of time to have an impact from a fantasy.
Yeah, he was also crippled by his team, though, wasn't he?
Oh, he's on a bad team, but he went 4, so you go 4 and you're going to go to a bad team, aren't you? And maybe there is that balance. And if you're going 20 to 30, you might get on a better team with a bit better.
I think the general consensus for Kincaid is that he's going to go to the Chargers, which would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Are the Cowboys in for a tight end having
I think like they seem to like Jake Ferguson. They drafted him in the 4th round last year.
They've got Hendershot as well, haven't they?
They've got Hendershot. Yeah, he was a UDFA. I think Hendershot's more of the blocking type. Ferguson's more the receiving type. But I would say yes, but I'm not 100% sure what the Cowboys are going to look like from an offensive scheme, this year, because obviously they got rid of Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore has gone to the Chargers now, which is really good news for Justin Herbert. And Mike McCarthy just wants to run the ball and play defense. So the Cowboys teams that we've seen the last couple of years, slinging them about the place with Kellen Moore, they're calling plays. That's not going to happen this year. So I it wouldn't surprise me if they drafted Darnell Washington. Just thinking out loud what I've just the scenario I've just played out there, because Washington is a tight end who will definitely help you in your running game. That's one thing for sure.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I think that's us done, isn't it?
I think we've had a good deep dive into some guys there, haven't we?
Yeah. Enjoyed it. It's been nice being back. It's Thursday night.
Are we gonna follow up with a couple of guys that we like? Maybe put them on the Twitter feed, or just see how they go. From some of the guys we've highlighted.
Just track our favourites.
Yeah, I think you've give Tank Bigsby
and Flowers.
Yeah, I like Charbonnet. I like who was the guy I said? Quinton Johnson. I know he's not massively deep dives, and I know Blandy's got a bit more deeper into the field with Izzy Abakinwa.
Yeah, Izzy's my guy at running back.
So we'll maybe put them out there as a few to watch, and we'll see where they get drafted, and we'll maybe follow up from there. Eh?
Yeah. My one at wide receiver is a guy called Jonathan Mingo.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, tight end I like Sam Laporta. And might as well wrap the lot off. Go for QB. My sleeper QB kind of Brock Purdy of this class
Stetson Bennett.
No, Jake Hayner of Fresno State.
Okay,
that's who I'll give you.
Where's he? What round is he going to go in late? Is he going to go late doors? Is he Mr. Relevant time?
I think he's. Let's have a look. I think you're on about 5th round. I think.
Okay.
148th overall. So yeah, what's that? 4th, 5th round in there. Yeah.
Next podcast, we're going to come back after the draft.
We'll do it after the. Yeah, we'll do one after the draft. Like I said, I get back from Brazil. I think it's 3rd week of May. So
the dust will have settled. We can do our analysis and.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is that called YouTube for you, Anne?
Yeah. Enjoyed it, lads. Anyway, so thank you all for watching. Cheers, Hobby, for your questions. He's probably asleep now.
Much appreciated.
Please.
Yeah, I'm off to sleep now.
Yeah, please like, share, subscribe. Peace out.
See you soon.
Goodbye.
Ciao.